Hot 97 present Street Soldiers with Lisa Evers.
I'm so glad you're joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers. We're honoring the life and legacy of Michael K. Williams. He was famous for his acting and used his extensive talents to entertain us in fascinating roles. When he was not in front of a camera, he was a much-loved humanitarian who used his creative abilities to uplift our communities.
I love y'all, bro.
The late Michael K. Williams opened up less than 2 weeks before his death to Rough Roads podcast host JOAQUIN. At one point, they even prayed together.
Long as we here living and breathing, we are a reflection of him. So Mike will never be gone. He will always be here with us.
Williams was deeply involved in the community, especially with youth at a grassroots level.
This is a community, good, bad, and ugly. You got good and bad in every community. Don't make our community out to only be the bad.
When not acting, he was involved in many community projects and co-founded the We Build the Block organization.
I think it's important that people understand that Michael was not a celebrity spokesperson. That was not his role.
Michael K. Williams played many roles, often with complex characters and a searing intensity. At the time of his death, at the age of 54, he had 4 active acting projects in the works.
He garnered 5 Emmy nominations over his career. The TV Academy was well aware of his accomplishments. He had yet to win. His most recent was for Lovecraft Country.
The loss of Michael K. Williams is being felt deeply by many.
Well, Michael K. Williams was a hero to many people, really across all cultures and races, but he was a very special gift to Black and brown people. They saw a lot of themselves in him. The characters he played were so iconic. They talked about the struggle that many people have in the community.
Let's take a closer look right now at who he was and what he accomplished with our panel. Joining us, Clayton Davis. He's the Film Awards editor and host of The Talk at Variety. Clayton, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate it. Also with us is Dr. Jeff Gardier. He's a clinical psychologist and also with Touro College. Dr. Jeff, thank you so much for being with us.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Also joining us is Joaquin Wadeen. He's the CEO of Rough Riders and did what may very well be the last interview that Michael K. Williams did before he passed away. Wow, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to say my condolences and our condolences of everyone here on the show at Hot 97 and at Fox 5 to the family, the friends, the colleagues, all of the people who had worked with Michael K. Williams, who loved him and who were touched by his life, and to his fans as well. A lot of people are really feeling this. You can see it in the posts on social media. You can see it in the expressions and the interviews that people are giving. And so our condolences and our hearts go out to all of you. And for those of you who didn't know him that well, want to kind of understand the depth of his accomplishments and the breadth of them, that's why we're doing this show. So Clayton, give us an idea of the body of work, because a lot of people remember him from The Wire, but he did so many things.
Yeah, he's one of those classic character actors, one that has been sprinkled all throughout film and television in the industry. And what makes him so prolific, and I compare him to a career like Philip Seymour Hoffman. When we lost Philip Seymour Hoffman years ago, we felt that ripple effect in the industry. What makes Michael K. Williams' loss so profound is that not only was he one of our greatest living actors, it speaks to the talent pool that we have in Hollywood for Black creatives. And what I mean by that is, you know, when we lost Philip Seymour Hoffman, I mean, he was a loss, but we have so many in the pipeline ready to come and take the charge and you know, live that legacy in a career and represent for the industry. Michael K. Williams, we have Black creatives that are talented and could fill that opportunity, but they're not given that same opportunity. So when we lose a Michael K. Williams, we feel it and we see it, and we're going to see it for years to come. Same thing happened last year when we lost Chadwick Boseman.
Right.
Those great artists, you know, we don't see Hollywood moving fast enough to fill that talent pool. So when something like this happens, it's so incredibly tragic that we can still have people to look up to. He was a guy from the block
Right.
that made it, and it was still on the block. Like,
And on his own terms, on his own terms.
It's one of on his own terms, you know, and we don't see that enough. And he was a great inspiration to so many of us.
Dr. Jeff, why do we feel this so strongly? And especially for Black men, this is like a very, very tough blow.
Well, certainly, I think reflecting what Clayton has said, this was someone from the block. A lot of young Black men, especially, identified with him because of the roles that he played and the fact that he came up sort of the hard way from some of the things that we know about him. I think the other thing, of course, is watching him play these very, very difficult roles, but roles that were lauded even by President Obama. He felt like he was part of our family. When we looked at him, we were looking at ourselves. When we looked at his struggles and the parts that he played, we saw ourselves. When we found out that he had died, we knew that, you know, there go by the grace of God, you know, this could be me.
And while you spoke with him, you had a very long conversation with him for your upcoming new podcast series, Rough Road. You told me you talked with him for about 2.5 hours. What were your impressions of him when you're sitting there across from the table in that studio talking with him?
I mean, with Michael, it was a lot of connection there. We did a tribute together with DMX. I just, you know, we lost my brother DMX, the late great DMX. And in the cockpit, we had a moment, me and him at the rehearsal at BET Awards in LA. And so when I got on the stage to do my rehearsal part, I seen him on the right-hand side. When I walked out, his spirit reflection of DMX was in him. I mean, they had like this strong presence. And I seen him and I was like, yo, you know, they go X. And so his, you know, me and him clicked from that day on. And we represented X in a tribute. It was beautiful, you know, for the world. It was only 4 minutes. And then I started to work on this Rough Roads. And the Rough Roads just, you know, represents brothers and sisters and that went through a lot of struggles that's successful. And they asked me who I want to interview. So I said, I want to interview Michael K. Williams. He impacted my life and he's a reflection of my brother DMX. And when I got with him in this interview, I mean, it was so flawless and his everything. He opened up so like this interview was 2.5 hours, almost 3. That his interview, he opened up his whole soul and his spirit to us. I mean, I really want to, you know, one day be able to show y'all this epic interview that I think that he was just really putting it out there in the open, talking about his whole life and how things was happening in his life. He talked about his spirituality. He talked about his growing up. You know, we really talked about how we build. He have a company called We Build the Blocks, and I have a company called Rough Riders to the Rescue. So, you know, we're doing community work right now, and he's, you know, matter of fact, a week before he passed, he called me and he wanted me to come to Queens. I mean, to New Jersey, to meet a guy by the name of Marcus, and I wasn't able to make it. But you know, we're gonna do some great things and continue his legacy.
In his honor, most definitely.
Stay with us. There's more to come.
Clayton, I want to talk about The Wire because everybody, you know, Michael has had so many other roles, like the chalky role in Boardwalk Empire was so amazing and intense. But it was that role in The Wire that just kind of like blew everybody away when gay characters were few and far between, especially in the hood.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Omar Little is iconic and synonymous with television history. Wire, arguably one of the best shows that, you know, voted on by a lot of people. It's one of the best shows that ever graced television, which, by the way, no one was really paying attention to at the time. It had this afterglow after the show was gone already, which speaks to a lot of what we see with great artists like Michael K. Williams. Like in the moment, we don't realize because he's so good and effortless when he delivers a character or performance, we take for granted what he's actually doing. And then when you look back, you're like, my God, like, look at this body of work. I mean, more so than that, you know, even in critical flops like Assassin's Creed, he stands out in Assassin's Creed. He has a role in the Best Picture winner, 12 Years a Slave, that won Best Picture at the Academy Awards. This guy touched everything, and it was always, I call him like, the sprinkle on the sundae that takes it up to another level, and he made everyone around him better. Ava DuVernay, who directed him in When They See Us, which he was nominated for an Emmy, speaks about him just coming to set. He was not even supposed to shoot that day, and just being there and being Big Brother. Like, that's what you want from those great character actors. You want them to nurture and take everyone under their wing and teach them something that they don't know. And he brought a different perspective that we don't see a lot in any type of medium in entertainment.
He was just you talk about how present he was, and that was something I noticed about him too, because I was like, okay, great. So you're going to come to Push for Peace. Do you want us to email your agent or your publicist, or And he's like, no, Lisa, I got you. He goes,
no holds barred. Yeah, he would just do it. I mean, listen, Joaquin already spoke about it. Like, for him to spend 2.5 hours with, right. Any publicist would be like, no, you're not spending 2.5 hours just hanging out with some dude. Like, but he would just be like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do what I want to do, because he wanted to tell the world his story. He was open about all his struggles. He was open about his life, and you can't ask for more than real in an industry that isn't very real, a lot of times.
Well, what about the struggles, Dr. Jeff? Because he was very active in trying to overcome them as well.
Well, I think he is a perfect example of an actor who's so much into the craft that at times he can even re-traumatize himself. I do believe, and not knowing much about Michael K. Williams other than that he was a great humanitarian and a great actor, of course, but he would go so deep, from what I can see as a psychologist, would go so deep into these roles that in some ways, I believe it would unearth a lot of the things that he had compartmentalized, a lot of the triggers that could bring him to a place where he was suffering. And so playing these roles over and over again, for some actors can be very healing, but for some other actors, depending on where they are, it can actually take them back into that darkness. And I think that's a lot of what we saw and may have led to perhaps the final outcome.
Clay, we talk about, and we talked about this with you a number of times on various Street Soldiers episodes. Do you feel that Michael K. Williams got the recognition in the industry and from his peers that he deserved for his talent?
Yeah, listen, I think this panel is a great example right now. And I want to always say out loud, just so the industry hopefully can hear me, Black people, as well as like I'm Black and Puerto Rican, so Black, Latinos, we're not monolithic. We represent so many different areas. Like, a Black person's experience in Brooklyn differs from a Black person's experience in Mississippi and California and so forth. We have a doctor here, we have a professor, we have the Rough Riders here, you have me and journalists. Like, we can come from any different backgrounds, and people have not caught up to that. And Michael K. is another piece of that puzzle, seeing that you can deliver a nuanced, fierce, completely deep performance.
Juan, in terms of give us a sense, because you guys even prayed together in that famous picture where, you extend your arm and your hand across to him, to your brother there, and you prayed together. In terms of where his spirit was and his soul was, and give us a sense of that, what you felt.
Well, his spirit was really in giving back, being a humanitarian, being community active. He was really heavily involved with that. He said that he haven't done enough work in the community. He said he has so much more to do. He also explained to me that with the passing, with Pac and DMX, he was the last left out of that particular trio. He said he inherited that spirit from them because he learned so much from them. And that he said that it was, a lot, big shoes to fill. He said, it was really an epic moment with me and him. He was like, it's unbelievable that I was with him for the last 2 weeks, and he expressed so many things here And he said that he just wanted to do more work with rebuilding the blocks and Rough Riders to the rescue to get on ground to save the youth in the community. He was very, very big in that.
Oh yeah,
Real
and very much, and very much so. We Build the Block. I spoke with the executive director, and she said he co-founded it, and he was out there with the youth, with the kids. They called him Uncle Mike. Wow, what did you're a person that, throughout your career, you continue to grow and continue to develop it with all these great business things, personal things, community and charity things that you've been doing. What was your takeaway from your 2.5-hour conversation with Michael K. Williams? Was there something he said that you feel is going to change your life?
Well, what changed me with Michael is that really we're just brothers of alike. We come from the community, urban community, raised in broken families, spiritually grounded, awoken, spiritually awoken, and want to be as humanitarians. So, a lot of brothers that some brothers and sisters like to get back and go back into the community to make a difference. And that's what, my heart with him and DMX, it was so impactful with me because we're always giving back. No matter how much success we have, we may have like a couple of 100,000 or $1 million, and we like, well, half of that's going to the community. So they'll be like, what? No, you're going to do that? Oh, no. They had special spirits. God sent them here for a mission to do certain things, and it was done. And, that was really touching to me because spiritually he was a vessel that put in the work to help people. And he did a great job doing it. And now we just have to continue his legacy and DMX legacy and work and
honor
build
them with the community work, definitely.
The community work and stay in motion, keep things going. Go ahead, my fault.
No problem. We'll definitely keep the community thing going in his memory for sure. Clayton, in terms of for aspiring young Black actors, the guys in particular, I mean, Michael K. Williams, from everything you say, he just sounds like it was like constantly working. That's got to be progress on some level.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's progress that he was in as many things as he was, and that he was as grounded as he was. One thing I never want to lose sight of is that Michael K. Williams, yes, an actor, yes, an inspiration, to the entertainment community, still a human, still a Black man, still a family man. He was a father. He had a twin sister who was a council woman here in Los Angeles, or in California, rather. I think there's this assumption when we talk about a guy from the block, that he was a thug, and he's famous for saying, "I'm not a thug." And I think there's too much of assumptions in that
because of the role, right?
Because of the roles, but also because he had a scar. He had a scar in his face, that was very pronounced, that people saw and noticed, and the aside, he spoke openly about that, about how he got it.
Right.
But there's assumption that he was just a bad guy that just kind of got lucky. He wasn't a thug. He was a human. He was smart beyond what we ever know him to be.
Right.
And he was incredibly talented, and it's still a loss. And I hope everyone continues to look up to him, in that regard. He's an inspiration to a lot of kids out there.
No, definitely. Dr. Jeff, final word real quick. What can we take away from this? What should we take away from this?
I think exactly what we're doing now, being able to celebrate his life, not concentrating on his death, but celebrating his life. Because of film, he will go on forever. And of course, if you're a spiritual person, like many of us are here, we know that he sits at the right hand of the Father right now. But certainly there are so many lessons, positive lessons about struggle, about success, of holding on, that I think that we can all learn and pass down to our youth. And of course, the importance of dealing with whatever it is that is difficult in our lives and reaching out to the community to make sure they support us and we support them. And that was one of the things that Michael K. Williams did. He supported communities.
And you used his art.
Everyone go out there and watch all his movies. Have a Michael K. Williams Day. It's a really good day.
Exactly. That's a great idea. I like that. I like that.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers on the life and legacy of Michael K. Williams. If you'd like to see it again or share it, you can find it on our Fox 5 NY YouTube page. I'm Lisa Evers. Remember, use your mind. It's your best weapon. Let's push for peace, love, and justice for all.